They never told you this part, that behind every triumphal arch and marble column of Rome there was a hidden theater, not of war or politics, but of pleasure, power, and perversion. Picture this: a nobleman's villa at dusk, olive oil lamps flickering against walls painted with gods mid-orgy. The air is heavy with incense and blood. From the shadows a figure watches, his face painted white, his mouth carved in a permanent red grin. Not a performer, not a myth, but a man history tried to erase. The Roman Joker, a twisted jester of the elite, bred not to entertain, but to seduce, spy, and destroy. He was born in filth, the illegitimate child of a Vestal virgin raped during a festival blackout. The Senate silenced it with bribes, but the infant, malformed in spirit if not in body, was handed to the house of Domitian. There he was raised not like a son, but like a weapon, taught to mimic senators' accents, charm noble women, and seduce the secrets out of Rome's ruling class. They named him Festus, but whispered Joker behind closed doors, a plaything, a poison, a punchline in human form. His face became his prison. Painted in the eternal grin of Rome's comedic theater, Joker was permitted in rooms most slaves could not dream of. Emperors laughed as he juggled knives and mimicked generals, but when the wine flowed and the torches dimmed, he was sent deeper, into bedrooms, into confidences, into whispered scandals. Every moan, every betrayal, every poisoned cup he witnessed became currency. The Joker was not free, but he was dangerous, more dangerous than any senator with a sword. One night, a senator's wife slit her wrists after whispering her family's secrets into Joker's ear. Another vanished after he caught her with a slave boy, and yet he remained untouched, not because they trusted him, but because they feared what he knew. Joker wore a smile, but behind it was blackmail, manipulation, and madness, and in time he stopped performing and started controlling. The jester became a kingmaker, and the empire would never recover. The Romans thought they'd invented him, but Joker was older than the empire itself. His origin can't be traced to any census or scroll, only in the gaps between scandals and suicides. He wore the bells of a fool, yes, but his real tools were silence, scent, and suggestion. At imperial feasts, he served wine laced with aphrodisiacs, not to kill, but to expose. Lovers made in lust, alliances made in shame, and Joker remembered everything, like a ghost with perfect recall, like a serpent wearing a grin. It was under Emperor Domitian that Joker became indispensable. While Domitian built temples to himself and burned dissidents alive, Joker played the clown. But in truth, he was the empire's black box. Every whispered insult, every forbidden tryst, every planned betrayal, Joker recorded it all. He delivered secrets like gifts wrapped in laughter, and in return, the emperor made him untouchable. He walked where generals knelt, touched what priests feared. He had no titles, but he owned everyone. Then came the whispers that Joker was no longer serving Rome, but steering it. He arranged marriages between enemies, reignited family blood feuds with a single phrase, replaced noble children with bastard doubles, training them in secret. Some say the emperor laughed too loudly when Joker was near, as if afraid. Others claimed Domitian stopped sleeping in his bed after Joker predicted his death in a drunken rhyme and got the date exactly right. When Domitian was assassinated in 96 AD, the guard said he screamed one word before the knife went in, Joker. But no one could find him. He vanished like breath from a mirror. Some say he escaped east with a caravan of eunuchs. Others insist he joined a cult beneath the city, but many believe, and still do, that Jokar never left. He just changed faces, changed names, that every empire has a Jokar, every king a whisperer, every age its fool, and that smile, you'll know it when you see it. They called it a myth, a bad joke, whispered by wine-soaked gladiators that Jokar had become a god in the catacombs. But truth festers where sunlight dies. Beneath the forum, under layers of ash and forgotten bones, a secret society bloomed, the cult of the painted smile. Born of Jokar's disappearance, its members believed his mask wasn't just a disguise, but a relic, a tool to unlock madness, seduction, and power. And they wore it, not in jest, but in worship. The cult didn't sacrifice bodies, they sacrificed reputations. One whisper at a noble banquet, one forged love letter, one misplaced statue of a forbidden god, and senators collapsed like dominoes. They used laughter like poison, lust like a knife. Their targets woke up disgraced or disappeared into accidents the next day. Rome's elite was under siege, not by assassins or rebels, but by their own secrets, weaponized by masked priests of a vanished fool. It's said the cult's high priest was a woman, a former courtesan who claimed Jokar seduced her with a dream. She wore his original mask, painted in blood and wine. Under her, the cult grew bolder. They infiltrated Rome's bathhouses, academies, and even the Vestal Virgins. Women whispered to the mask during secret rites, begging it to destroy their husbands. Soldiers laughed with it one night, then marched their legions into ambushes the next. Jokar had become not a man, but a virus of the mind. By 110 AD, Rome was cracking, not from barbarian swords, but from within. No one trusted anyone. Every performer was feared, every laugh second-guessed. Entire families fled the capital after children giggled in sleep, claiming the Red Smile Man visited them. Jokar's mask, or copies of it, began appearing nailed to noble doors, dripping with red paint or worse. One senator slit his own throat on the Senate floor, screaming, "He knows what I dreamed." Rome had birthed its own madness, and its name still wore a smile. They say when Rome burned, Jokar didn't stay to watch. He vanished into the trade routes, like poison slipping into a bloodstream. Traders whispered of a pale-faced man sailing east, hidden among crates of silks and exotic animals. By the time his name faded in the West, strange stories were surfacing in Persia and India, even in the ancient cities of the Han Empire. Stories of masked performers who seduced kings, turned wives against husbands, made armies laugh as they slit each other's throats. The virus had found new soil. In the Kushan Empire, a royal wedding was halted when the bride burst into hysterical laughter mid-vow, claiming she saw a red-mouthed god dancing behind the altar. In Chang'an, a festival ended in panic when acrobats removed their masks to reveal identical painted smiles beneath. The masks were not part of the performance. Scholars tried to trace the origin, but every road led back to the same symbol, a crescent grin, usually smeared in red, always drawn by a dying hand. Meanwhile, traders sold replicas of the mask to nobles who believed it granted influence. They didn't understand the power was never in the object, it was in belief, in the idea that something ancient, seductive, and cruel was watching. Some called it Jokar. Others called it the Grin, or the Demon of Mirrors, but all agreed, once you saw the smile, you'd start seeing it everywhere, on beggars, on whores, on your own child, asleep and grinning too wide. One scroll from a Han Dynasty court historian, now banned, describes a wandering monk who recited dark riddles, made eunuchs weep blood, and vanished before sunrise. He left behind a fan, a strand of hair, and a drawing, a red smile beneath hollow eyes. It was burned on sight, but the guards who witnessed it later clawed their faces raw, saying they heard laughter in their sleep for weeks. Dzhokhar didn't need an empire, just an audience, and every terrified civilization gave him one. In 1348, as the Black Death devoured Europe, masks became a matter of life and death, but some masks didn't protect. Villagers told stories of a plague fool, tall, thin, face painted white, red grin etched too wide. He walked barefoot through plague pits and never died. He whispered into the ears of the dying, and they'd laugh. Priests said it was hysteria. Survivors said it was something older. He appeared wherever the death toll was highest, and left behind bodies grinning ear to ear. In France, jesters were banned from court after 3 noblemen danced themselves to death, literally, in a locked hall during a storm. Witnesses outside heard music and laughter. When the door was broken, the fire had gone out, but painted red masks were left on each corpse. One boy who survived said, "The laughing man said he'd teach us how to never die." They buried him in chains. He died smiling anyway. In England, a black-cloaked figure began appearing at gallows, whispering to the condemned. The condemned would smile before the drop. People said he came from the east, wore bells that never jingled, and smelled like myrrh and decay. A sketch from the Tower of London labeled him Red Fool. That sketch, when rediscovered in 1881, caused 3 researchers to go mad. One wrote, "The smile is a door, and it opened." But Dzhokhar didn't just survive in shadows, he inspired. Monarchs began hiring fools, not to entertain, but to spy. Jesters were now executioners in disguise, clowns with knives, smiles with secrets. They could say anything without punishment. They knew the darkest truths. And sometimes, when kings went mad, it was the jester who whispered the final word. In stained tapestries, in coded diaries, and in execution songs, the face returns, always grinning, always watching, and never, ever aging. They called it Commedia dell'arte, the new theater of Italy, full of colorful masks and lewd improvisation. But beneath the slapstick was something darker. A masked character named Arlecchino, nimble, crude, smiling, began to dominate the stage. The poor laughed, the nobles watched closely, but older actors whispered that Arlecchino was not a creation, but a resurrection. The red smile, the unpredictable violence, the sexual chaos, it was all Dzhokhar, rewritten for a new age, a joke with knives behind the punchline. In Florence, a painter named Matteo Bianco claimed he saw the devil in a dream. The next day, he painted a grinning face with no pupils, teeth like pearls, and a crimson crescent mouth. He titled it Il Sorriso Eterno, the eternal smile. The church burned the canvas, but not before a dozen copies were made. Copies that surfaced in brothels, alchemist labs, and secret Masonic lodges. One of Da Vinci's students reportedly tore his own eyes out after staring at one for too long. In Paris, a playwright named Gaston Roux debuted a mysterious play, La Bouche Rouge, the Red Mouth. Every performance ended with at least one noble woman fainting, and rumors spread that the lead actor didn't wear a mask at all, but was Dzhokhar himself. The king banned it after a suicide at the palace. But scripts spread underground like wildfire. In hidden salons, it was said reading just one line aloud made mirrors fog, candles flicker, and mouths twitch into grins against the will. By 1700, the red smile had become a whispered symbol of secret societies across Europe. Some used it for seduction, others for subversion. They claimed Dzhokhar was not just real, but eternal, a force, an archetype, a tool for those willing to twist truth, seduce the powerful, and unmake the world through laughter. Whether in brocade or blood, The mask survived because, as one Venetian noble wrote before his mysterious death, he who laughs last probably saw Jokar first. In 1923, a lost German silent film titled Das letzte Lächeln, The Last Smile, was screened once in Berlin. Within 48 hours, the theater owner vanished, 3 attendees were institutionalized, and the reel was confiscated by the Weimar police. Survivors described a jester-like figure dancing through World War I battlefields, laughing as soldiers shot themselves. His mask didn't change, but moved, smiled wider, bled. One archivist who tried to restore it said, "I heard laughter behind the film. It wasn't in the film." During World War II, the Allies intercepted Nazi broadcasts with strange background noises, faint giggling, circus music, whispering in Latin, at first dismissed as psychological warfare, until British spies discovered a secret Goebbels unit called Project Narrenschrei, Project Jester's Scream. It aimed to embed fear-triggering symbols and laughter loops in propaganda films. The symbol, a red smiling mask overlaid on footage of bombings. Files recovered after the war show the mask etched into bunker walls, drawn in blood. The project was never officially shut down. In 1967, a U.S. test of early subliminal advertising accidentally leaked an image of a red smiling mask during a live TV broadcast in Detroit. Hundreds of calls flooded stations. A teacher reported 5 of her students wouldn't stop laughing. One carved a smile into his cheek. The footage was buried, but insiders say the CIA copied the phenomenon into MK Ultra trials. Jokar wasn't hunted anymore. He was studied, weaponized. The grinning face had a clearance level. By the late 1990s, underground forums traded in Jokar sightings like urban legends. A cursed bootleg VHS, a pirate clown video aired only once at 3:33 a.m., a forgotten comic book panel that made a reader claw out his eyes. The red smile appeared in graffiti, in flash frames, in haunted ARGs, but the final proof came in 2007 when a YouTube video titled "Why Do You Smile" appeared for 23 minutes unlisted. Comments screamed, "Make him stop," before the account vanished. Jokar had entered the algorithm. In 2020, a woman in Toronto live-streamed herself applying clown makeup for a Jokar challenge. She never stopped. 40 minutes in, her smile stretched physically until her lips tore. Her last words, "I didn't paint this part." TikTok removed the video within minutes, but not before 14,000 users saved it. Some who watched it reported nosebleeds, seizures, compulsive giggling. YouTube search trends for red smile clown tripled. The platform claimed it was AI malfunction, but the IP that posted the original clip, it traced back to nowhere. Schools began reporting a game called Say His Name. You stand in front of a mirror, smile wide, and say Jokar 3 times. Teachers dismissed it until a 9-year-old girl in Pennsylvania was found giggling in a locked restroom, her mouth torn open with scissors in her hand. Written on the mirror in lipstick, "He taught me." Law enforcement blamed creepypasta, but security footage showed the girl staring at the mirror for 11 minutes without blinking, alone, except for a shadow that wasn't hers. Online, users began noticing an anomaly. Facial recognition apps, filters, AR lenses, face unlock started glitching around mirrors. Some reported seeing a smile filter that wouldn't go away even when the app was closed. One cybersecurity firm tracked the glitch to an image dataset called Red Grin V03, uploaded by an anonymous account in 2016. Inside were thousands of Jokar masks, deep fakes, ancient art scans, and a folder marked Live Feed. It auto-updated with IPs, including yours. And now you're here, reading this, knowing his name, seeing his story. That's how Jokar works. You don't summon him, you invite him by asking, by watching, by staring too long. This wasn't a legend, it was a ritual. One told in your language, screen light, image, and sound. He is the smile that survives. And now, he knows you smiled back.